You know, the world is awash in climate change refugees. It's what started what we call the Arab Spring. And our response to it up to this point has been basically to bomb the crap out of people. This is not going to help. We have to have a new way of looking at this. Love to hear your comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Listening to Beto O'Rourke talk about climate change, and he gave a very passionate riff about how, you know, his son, who I think is like 11 or 12 years old, is going to be his age in 2050, and, you know, the climate change will have really hit the fan by then. I mean, it is now, right? And what we're seeing right now is that this refugee crisis in the Middle East and these wars from Syria to Libya to Tunisia, I mean, the military coup in Egypt, all of this stuff is being driven by climate change. This was the thing about the Arab Spring. We thought the Arab Spring was originally because Barack Obama gave a great speech in Egypt about the importance of democracy, and then some guy in Tunisia sets himself on fire. And, you know, and then boom, it's the Arab Spring. It's democracy spreading across Northern Africa and the Middle East. No, it turns out actually what was going on was that climate change had wiped out millions of acres of farmland. The desert was moving south into North Africa, and, you know, from Syria and the Middle East, from Syria all the way across Libya and all the way, you know, to Sudan and everything else. And so all of these farmers had become climate refugees, and they and their families were streaming into the big cities, whether it was Damascus or Tripoli or whatever it may be. And at the same time, because there was less food being produced, the price of food was going up. And that's what that young man lit himself on fire in protest of, was the rising price of wheat. People couldn't afford food. And they couldn't afford food because of climate change. And what has our response been to that? We're bombing the crap out of a half a dozen countries in that area. We're literally taking Yemen well, actually several different countries, but particularly Yemen and also Syria back to the Stone Age. I mean, we're turning their cities into rubble. Not to mention radicalizing their young people. They're going to hate the United States forever, for generations. We've got to come up with a better way to deal with this. The United States Senate just voted to say no to Jared Kushner and Mohammed bin Salman's little war in Yemen. The U.S. Senate just said no. That's a good step. But more climate refugees are on their way. This is happening big time. What we have seen so far with the refugee crisis in Europe, the refugee crisis in the Middle East, the refugee crisis, frankly, on our southern border, and a lot of that has to do with climate change because farms in Central America aren't as productive as they used to be. As we look at all of this, we've got to get ready for something really big, and we've got to figure out a way to deal with it that doesn't involve dropping bombs on people, because that not only doesn't work, but over the long term, that's just insanely counterproductive.